the $70 million organization and the $700,000 organization can still do the same tactics. It's just at what scale and what capacity and scope.
I'm Rich Frazier.
And I'm Russ Fanos.
Welcome to the Nonprofit Fundraising Exchange, a podcast from IPM Advancement.
We believe strong nonprofits can change the world, and our goal with each episode is to bring you insightful conversations with thought leaders from the nonprofit sector.
Let's dive in. Hey, Russ, how you doing? Nice to see you.
Rich, I'm great.
Good.
How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. And it's good to be back together. Again, it seems like we've been apart for a while.
Yeah, it's nice to be back.
This episode promises to be very interesting and helpful, I hope, for our listeners. We're going to be talking about Giving Tuesday.
Giving Tuesday.
Giving Tuesday. It's one of those things. You'll love it or you hate it, I think.
Yeah,
and I think
yeah.
Right?
We all try to love it.
We all do try to love it. And our guests today are fascinating. They are approaching it from different ends of the spectrum. Let me introduce them, and then we'll jump into the show. Sadé Dozan, CFRE, and Sarah Murry, CFRE. Would you mind telling us a little bit about you and your organizations?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I am Sadé Dozan. I am the Chief of Development and Operations at Caring Across Generations, a national campaign of family caregivers, care workers, people with disabilities, and aging adults, working to transform how we think about and act on care so that it's accessible, affordable, and equitable, and enables everyone to live and age with dignity.
Super. Thank you, Sadé. Welcome. And Sarah.
Hi, Sarah Murry. I am with Shriners Hospitals for Children. We have 22 hospital locations throughout the U.S., Canada, and Mexico, and we work with families regardless of their ability to pay, from everything from burns, cleft lip and palate, craniofacial. I mean, we have run the gamut for 100 years, and this year we are celebrating our 100 years of care for all of our hospitals throughout the U.S., Canada, and Mexico.
Wonderful. Congratulations.
Yeah, and thank you for joining us. So we are talking about Giving Tuesday today. So this November of 2022 marks the 10th anniversary of Giving Tuesday. Created in 2012 to be a philanthropic counterpoint to the consumerism of Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Since then, it's grown into a global movement involving hundreds of millions of people in no fewer than 80 countries. The last 10 years, Giving Tuesday has raised more than, Russ, wait for it, $8 billion.
Really?
With a B, yes.
Really?
In 2021, the numbers topped $2.7 billion.
Wow.
So love it or hate it, it's here to stay.
Yeah.
The simple concept has become part of our culture. It has also created a ton of work and a ton of stress for development offices across the country.
Mm-hmm.
Now, questions are, should we participate? Should we not? What's our goal? What's the payoff? Is it worth it? Sadé and Sarah are here to help us figure all of that out. So they approach Giving Tuesday from opposite ends of the spectrum, from a grassroots approach to a larger syndicated approach. And we're excited to kind of dig into the strategies that they come at it from to find out what they know and how they can help others. So the first question, why do you think Giving Tuesday is more important than just a simple social media post? Sadé, let's start with you.
I like to think of Giving Tuesday as the beginning of the year. I try not to think about it as the end of the year, have to get it all out, it needs to get done. But it serves as an entry point for a lot of new donors to kind of come in, and it's their first look very often into who you are. This like global phenomena of philanthropy coming across most folks in their homes, like, is the first point that they can meet you. So I think it's beyond a social media point. It's your introduction to a lot of folks.
Sadé, I love that.
I do too, Sadé. That is something that I've not heard before. And I really like that because it's that entree into Giving Tuesday. Like, come on into our mission. Come on into this and understand what we're doing. For us, it's instantly recognizable. So many people know about Giving Tuesday. And while you can have all these different campaigns throughout the year, for us, this one seems to be the one that people know and recognize. But I love the idea of speaking to people in a way where this is our first touch point with you. I really like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that it also serves for like your folks that have been with you and they've done Giving Tuesdays before, then they come in and they introduce new people. And that helps take the pressure off of the development department. It's for new people. It's the beginning of the year versus end of year chaos and madness.
Do you ever see your Giving Tuesday appeals sort of competing or cannibalizing the end of year giving?
Sometimes I find with micro donors and those folks that give often below $1,000, they're like, okay, I did it.
Mm-hmm.
I gave on Giving Tuesday. I'm done.
Yeah.
But I think that that's part of the communication strategy is to keep them engaged even beyond Giving Tuesday, right? Like you do a really solid thank you that makes them curious about your work. And then you say, don't forget us at the end of the year, double the donation that you just made. Like, come on, like, something like that.
That's a great reminder too, that, Giving Tuesday is an opportunity for people to give again. It's not just about first-time donors. It's an opportunity for people who have given earlier in the year to maybe give a second gift or even move to monthly giving. We see a lot of our clients move people to monthly giving on Giving Tuesday to just get them out of the cycle of, having to come back once a year and ask and, do that renewal process over and over again. So I have a question for you both. How do you see Giving Tuesday as different than other fundraising opportunities throughout the year? Sarah, let's start with you on that one.
For us, we have a number of different campaigns that we do throughout the year that focus on specific needs or whatever. But again, Giving Tuesday seems to be something for us that everyone has somehow understood or they've been served if they've already been in our email drip series, or if they've been constituents, they've been seeing all these different things we're doing. So they know it. We have some sort of save the date, don't forget about this, regardless of what else we're putting out there. It's just about reminding people this is going on and telling them we're going to have this big day and you can be a part of this big day that means so much to so many people. And our big thing is storytelling. We like to tell the stories of the patients. We like to tell the stories of where their money is going. And that's been really successful for us. Obviously we're every year we try and move the needle and try and kind of change the game and figure out the different things we want to do. But ultimately it's something that we want people to always have on their calendars. And we've seen that our donors are doing this over the last couple of years that we've been putting it out there.
Sadé, how do your donors see it?
I mean, we're new. So the Caring Across team has been around for about 10 years, but the development and the institutional sort of giving pattern is definitely new. I think that folks often were like, oh, we don't know about small individual giving campaigns. We're not sure on how to navigate them. So the concept of normalizing Giving Tuesday, I think, is new for a lot of nonprofits with growing development departments.
Mm-hmm.
So I love this idea of instituting storytelling and having folks excited about, ooh, what story are you going to tell this year? What's the narrative this year? What's the through line?
Yeah.
And being interested in that reoccurring theme. I think that that's beautiful.
So before we geek out on examples and things like that, I do want to ask, is there an element of kind of training your CEOs and your executive directors and your higher ups about Giving Tuesday if you're in development? Have either of you experienced that at all?
Yes.
I see smiles.
I'm laughing because, I like reinforce, ask.
Right.
Because if you don't ask, then you didn't ask.
Yes.
That's kind of it.
That's a fundraiser right there.
Be explicit, name your ask, be really bold, and be okay with being out there and being explicit in the ask. So that's kind of what I go with constantly when I'm looking at executive teams is you have to really be ready to work those networks, to work that ask, to actually get out there and name it.
Yeah.
I think that's a great question, Russ, because I've done a few workshops and seminars on Giving Tuesday for smaller nonprofits.
Yeah.
And I think that training is all about sort of managing expectations. So what are we about on Giving Tuesday? Are we trying to raise money or are we trying to get new people into the mix? Are we acquiring new donors or new friends? When you look at the statistics, there's 35 million people participating in Giving Tuesday. Half of them are making gifts. The rest are volunteering or they're donating in kind. So there's a ton of different ways people are participating in Giving Tuesday, and all of them are valuable to the nonprofits. So what are we after? And I think that's part of that training, is managing the expectation, and also, especially for board members, how can you participate? Because board members kind of look at staff and think, okay, well, we're going into Giving Tuesday. Good luck, staff.
Good luck. Go get them.
Guess what, board members? This is your opportunity. This is your chance to really participate in that fundraising process in a very painless manner, right?
Yeah.
The staff might script you out on your social media, and maybe 8-10 times during the day, you can post these things that staff has written for you. But this is the way that you can get the message out about your organization.
Yeah, and it's important that it's an all hands on deck effort. If you're going to take one day out of the year, Giving Tuesday is a great day to get your board involved, to get all your staff involved, even the people who aren't in development, and get them all on board and say, hey, listen, we're all in this together. Development is kind of everybody's responsibility. If there's no revenue coming in, the organization can't fulfill its mission. So I think that's a really good point, Rich.
So I do want to ask, though, because I kind of jumped in with my 2 cents, but what do you guys do to get your board engaged with Giving Tuesday?
We are a toolkit culture. Shriners Hospitals for Children has 22 hospitals, 22 locations that we're still raising money for all of them. So what our team does when it comes to Giving Tuesday, we put together social assets for every different, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, everything. And we put together suggested copy that they can use. So we try to create assets and copy and bit.ly links and everything that will direct right back to their hospital that we are able to share. So they can not only use these for their hospitals, but all of our hospitals also have their individual boards. So they can share these toolkits out, and everyone has the information that they need. And we work really closely to refine these toolkits, but it's been a really important asset for us to share, because we are not all hospitals working in the same vein, although we are working for the same mission.
Sure.
But I'm telling you, you give people exactly what you would like them to post. You tell them, you say, you can do this, here's a suggested timeline. I'm telling you, it has been really helpful for us. And we work so well with all of our different departments for that. And I'm always happy to share toolkits or anything like that.
Awesome. Thank you. Sadé, you probably have a different approach then.
I do, but I do love a good toolkit. I will say that we do things a little bit more grassroots, where we don't have that expansive of a network, which I'm actually okay with, because the idea of having 22 boards kind of frightens me a little bit. I think that we're very much so on the one-on-one train still. So we do a lot of toolkits and check-ins, and we have kind of like training sessions for our P2Ps, our peer-to-peer users. So the folks that are doing peer-to-peer campaigns with us can come in and learn about how we talk about our work so that they can talk about our work. We do pre-populate things like text messages that they can send to their friends and social media posts, but it very much so is for us about that individualized connection to our mission and values. So because we work in care, many of our P2P folks are caregivers or care workers, and we find a constituency that really will advocate for us and have them learn how to use their own story and their own narrative as a way to fundraise.
Yeah. It's actually a really good segue. We want to talk about examples. So maybe Sadé, can you start us off and tell us, this was, last year was Caring Across Generations' first Giving Tuesday effort, right?
Yes.
So you're new into this, but what does that look like for you?
It looks like starting now is what it looks like. It looks like conversations around theme immediately, like thinking about what the last quarter of the year could look like. Mm-hmm. And again, thinking about Giving Tuesday as the entry point for the rest of the year.
When do you start thinking about that? When do you start planning for that?
We usually start in August, actually. Okay. And I think that is due to the fact that we typically will do, or we just started doing another campaign in the middle of the year. So we take our learnings from that campaign. We do a couple testing points in that campaign, things we want to test out, types of photos, types of videos, the length of the emails. And we do a lot of testing to see what our list is going to be responsive to. And then we take that, refine it, and that will be the basis for our end of year plan, which includes Giving Tuesday. Giving Tuesday is like the starting point for that part.
Really treating it like a micro campaign.
Yeah.
That starts with Giving Tuesday and goes all the way through the end of the year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Sarah, I hesitate to ask this question because I know that my friend Russ is going to jump in with about 20 super geek follow-up questions. But a lot of organizations approach Giving Tuesday as mostly an online giving event, but Shriners started integrating digital fundraising with direct mail. So tell us about how that's worked for you all.
Yeah, we have really adopted the multi-channel approach over the last 2 years. You know, we've been around for 100 years as of this year. So our direct mail audience is still so robust. So we started that in 2020, bringing that in. So we do a buck slip, or we put, a PS in the, whatever we're doing for direct mail, but we've also done something with DRTV, that one day for Giving Tuesday, putting that out there. But our biggest success comes from hitting everybody at all angles. As it stands right now, we have 15 different channels that we are communicating with our donors. So we have to do a lot of testing. We have to speak to everybody, no matter what, if they're sustainers, meaning have they been donating for this amount of time, or are they one-time donors, or have they just come onto the file? So you have to communicate so differently with everybody. And it's still, no matter how long we've been doing this, we're still trying to figure out the best way to tell everybody what we're doing. But it's absolutely crazy to think there are 15 inroads of people coming in who are donating, and we're doing all these different things, but it's important for sure.
If someone comes on board from your Giving Tuesday effort, right, and it's the first time they've ever given a Shriners, how do you kind of treat that donor journey? And do you try to, say if they can come in online, do you try to convert them into a direct mail donor?
That is such a good question. And I'm going to answer this super honestly. If people come in through the digital side, we want to keep them digital so we can communicate with them that way, because email is, essentially quote unquote free. So if you come in through digital, we want to keep you there, because we don't want your money to go to, sending you paper if you don't want it.
Yeah.
In our eyes, it's you come in online and we're going to keep you there, and we are going to truly cultivate that relationship by, it really is a lot of storytelling. Obviously, there are appeals that go into it, but again, we're 100 years old. So we have a demographic that are check writers, and we cannot discount check writers at all.
Sure.
Not one bit, but we want to always reach out to those check writers and say, hey, if you would like to do this online, let us know. If not, no big deal. We're still here on that level. But if they come in through digital, we're going to get them, and we're going to make sure they stay in digital.
So Sadé, what does your campaign look like?
I can give you the step-by-step, and then also say, we will actually take donors any way.
Any way they want it.
We'll do any way they want it. We're down for it. But what we do is we do a multi-pronged strategy. So we will send emails as well as push social media ads, as well as do direct mail to the same person. And we find that actually is fairly impactful. And it's something that we've been testing and modeling and figuring out, and including things like QR codes on postcards so that it's physically mailed to them, but then they end up giving online. So I'll take a donor wherever they are, but I also am coming at them from multiple angles at the same time, which seems like it's working. So I think I'm going to take it.
All right.
Nice.
So the way that it works for Giving Tuesday is we do send out a teaser email. We send out something that's very like, hey, don't forget about Giving Tuesday this year. What is it? This is what it is. And don't forget about us. In the swarm of the emails, we have been playing with humor a little bit humor and storytelling, and keeping a tone that shows our values as like an organization that is very caring, but also understands that like the battle is long. So we kind of have that sort of euphemism as well. So you get a welcome series email, and then they get the day before Giving Tuesday, then they get the day of Giving Tuesday email. And then they also get like a post, it's not too late. And then we do a similar thing with our mailed appeals, our letters, our postcards, and then any sort of way that we're pushing on social media as well. So again, thinking about the way that folks can get a comprehensive tactic, it is more expensive per person because we're like reaching them from multiple vantage points. But we do find that our average giving rate almost doubled last when we started doing the multi-pronged impact.
Hi, this is Curtis Schmidt, producer of the Nonprofit Fundraising Exchange. If you're a nonprofit professional who has questions about your program, or maybe you feel like you've taken your advocacy, fundraising, or membership effort as far as you can and you need some fresh ideas, then we have a special offer for you today. NPFX podcast listeners can get a free 30-minute consultation with IPM Advancement, no strings attached, when you go to free.ipmadvancement.com. Just enter a few details and an IPM team member will contact you to follow up. It's that easy. That website again is free.ipmadvancement.com. That's free.ipmadvancement.com. Thanks for listening, and we hope to talk to you soon. Now let's return to the episode.
I think we can all agree there's a lot of noise on Giving Tuesday. Every time you turn around, there's an email or a social media post. It's Giving Tuesday.
Yeah.
There's still time.
Yeah, we have a match.
Yeah.
It's like the match wars come up.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
How do you set yourself apart? How do you rise above all that noise?
That is the big question, right? I mean, that's something we've been trying to figure out. And that's why this year, again, we had always hit everyone starting November 1, leading up to Giving Tuesday, and kind of putting out those appeals that meet patient stories. But this year we're doing something for October. You know, October is a pretty quiet time for us. But what we're working on this year is we wanted to talk more about what we have going on at the hospitals, talk more about those patient stories, and kind of remind everyone of everything that's going on, so they have like a primer into Giving Tuesday. You know, more and more stories, but no straight asks. Like, here's everything we have going on because of what you've done in the past. And this goes out to full file. This goes out to everyone. We have a newsletter. We're going to share with you about what one of our patients who's now, you know, on to college has done, all of that. So it's storytelling. And this is a huge test for us, but we've seen that people love the story. Our constituents love the patient stories. I mean, if you're familiar at all with our commercials, with our patients, with our anything, and you're just familiar at all with giving, you just know you want to hear that touching story from a family or from a parent, from anything. So you have that like very direct connection. It's really important for us. And I think that makes kind of sets us off from all the other, different things going on in Giving Tuesday, because maybe some people start on November 1. I don't know. This year could be a whole different thing, but that's what we have decided how we want to position ourselves for 2022.
You're really setting them up with the why. Why is it important for me to make my gift?
Right.
So Sadé, how do you rise above the noise with your organization?
Lots of ambassador work. P2P is my favorite thing in the entire world. I feel like no one can convince you to give to an organization other than like your friend. So so we do a lot of, before we roll out a Giving Tuesday campaign, we do kind of a sub P2P or any sort of campaign, not just Giving Tuesday. We do a sub P2P sort of check in, like, hey, you are one of our top donors, or hey, you gave 4 times last year, or you show up on our social media pages a lot. Join us, come work with us together. We could build this out. So we do a lot of groundwork as it relates to the ambassadors that we're going to implement during the Giving Tuesday season.
Yeah, that's a great way to do that too. Those ambassadors, the peer-to-peer.
And Rich, you know how you sell a lot of pumpkin spice lattes.
How is that?
You start selling them in August.
Of course. Yes.
So you do need to prep your audiences, right? We're seeing it on the pumpkin spice latte front.
Yeah.
And so it's applicable to giving too,
And if I hadn't gone to Costco, I would not know to prepare for both Halloween and Christmas
at the same time.
Yes, at the same time.
Yeah. There's been some research suggesting that existing donors find themselves bombarded with requests on Giving Tuesday. So what kind of work are you doing to segment your messaging on Giving Tuesday to annual donors, monthly donors, lapsed donors, major donors, et cetera, so that you're tailoring those specific groups, the messaging to those specific groups?
I typically run multiple series of the same email. So if someone has given within the last 6 months, they get a thank you. If someone's given within the last year, it's a thank you and an ask. Someone hasn't given, it's the ask with a, gratitude looped in. So it's not always an ask, but it's being mindful around the segmentations and keeping in mind that just because someone has given to you this year doesn't mean they won't give again. You just have to ask in the right way.
Do you ever remind them of the amount of their previous gift? Or is that level of specificity just creepy?
I actually have tested it both ways. And I actually find that when you tell them exactly how much they gave, like a roundabout, and then you say, could you make a gift of, and ask them to scale a little, that actually is super, like it works.
Good.
So
Excellent.
I would say if you have the technology and the ability to do testing like that, I would definitely encourage folks to do it.
That's excellent to know, because a lot of people we work with are so skittish about doing that because they don't want to creep out their donors. And, we'll err on the side of maybe being a little light with those people. So
I would do it again. I'm talking micro donors. I think it's different when you're like, thank you for your gift of $50. Like it really meant a lot to us. If you could do 75 this year and you're able to do it, we would be so humble. And like something like that is like, super gracious, but also kind of cheeky.
Yeah. And it's great to test. I mean, you have to test because every organization's different and every organization is going to have a different audience that reacts differently, because as someone who's been in the trenches, you often have to defend your decisions to the higher ups, right? You have to defend your decisions. You have to say, this is why I'm doing this. And so if you can have good defensible decisions, it's going to help you in your career, and it's also going to help your program.
Oh yeah, Russ, we are crazy testers with everything. I mean, it comes down to subject line, button color, button number, what is your default on your on your donation page. There are all these different things that come into figuring out what works.
Yeah.
But it's important. It very much is.
Yeah. And the reality too is that a development position doesn't last forever for a lot of people. They either move up or they move out to a different organization. And just for the good of the program and for ultimately the good of the beneficiaries, you have to memorialize that. You have to keep track of that so that the next person that you hand your program over to can continue your success and doesn't have to start over.
Yeah. I mean, it's everything. I think the one thing we can learn as fundraisers is we all have the exact same end goal. Raise money, do good, do all of this. So it's really nice to hear, no matter what size your organization is or what you're doing, all of it is important, but it has to fit within your organization and what your goals are.
I think that's such a good point, is that all of the lessons, the $70 million organization and the $700,000 organization can still do the same tactics. It's just at what scale and what capacity and scope. And I think you can test at a smaller organization. You can figure out whether or not your list is into short emails or long emails. There's the ability to do that and make those attempts. And I think that that'll really help the giving institution kind of like at large,
Yeah,
I do too. I think that's so important. Like I have all these little posted, Sadé. I'm telling you, I didn't bring this piece of paper, but I'm like, I want to talk to you about your peer-to-peer, what you're doing, because what's crazy is while peer-to-peer is so important for us, It's definitely been one of those things that's a little bit trickier to ignite, because our organization has been around for such a long time. So we have, again, all these development officers all over, and they're a major gift, and they're trying to do this thing for the hospitals, but it is about that small, not even small, I hate even using the word small. It's about those donors who can do what they can do, and they want to showcase what they're doing. And I find that so important, because I can't make a major gift. I mean, who knows in my lifetime, but I'm a person about my network. What can my network do? What can everybody's network do? And I think that's the most important thing, regardless of if it's Giving Tuesday or anything else. That's the most important thing, is casting the net.
So lessons learned. We're talking about lessons learned. What are some of the lessons that you've learned that haven't worked? What are some of the things that you've tried in Giving Tuesday that haven't worked for your organization?
Yeah, long emails do not really work.
Yeah. No, I know.
And you know how you're like, let me try one more thing. I don't think that we should try it. Long emails, like, a 3-page mailed letter and a 3-page email, 2 very different things.
Yeah.
Right.
But swag, people love swag. People love premiums. They love mugs. So if you have the capacity to do things like that, those things do work.
I love swag.
Yeah.
Incentives, I'm telling you, people like a little something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What hasn't worked at Shriners? Tell us your deep, dark secrets.
Well, as far as Giving Tuesday goes,
Yeah.
I think Sadé, you hit the nail on the head. It's nobody wants these long form emails about emails that are too long and don't have a PS or an ask. Those are just going to fall on, like, I get very nervous about unsubscribe rates when we do all these tests. Like, that is one of my biggest anxiety points, in what we do. But it's just about being concise, telling your story, making the ask, and going on from there.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, 100%, do not exhaust your audience. With us, because we do so many different things. And like I kind of mentioned, in October, we're telling these patient stories. And if they give in October, before that lineup for November, we exclude anybody who's already given. We are not going to ask them repeatedly for a gift.
Right.
We make sure they're out of a cycle. And I mean, if someone sends me an email that I've already given to, and they say, hey, would you like to be a first-time donor? Like, delete, unsubscribe, that's it.
Yeah.
So for the nonprofit that's going to jump into the Giving Tuesday game for the first time this year, can you each give a piece of advice to the newcomer into Giving Tuesday? Sadé, you first.
Yeah, I would say pick a theme, stick with it, and write a set of emails that go within that theme. And it sounds simple, but you'll find there's lots of opinions when it comes around the Giving Tuesday. I think it's about being consistent and being concise, and also making sure you're adding in really quality photos that get folks involved. So that would be like the simplest way to dip your toe into the Giving Tuesday appeal. And then take all those photos and the language and shorten it even more, and then make that your social media campaign.
Love it.
Sarah.
The social media piece is so important. I agree with that. I definitely do. And I'm going to essentially piggyback off of Sadé. Story is number one, with those great images. People like to see pictures. They want to feel like they're a part of something. And then the follow-up, whether it's an email, whether it's a call, whether it's a text message, I don't know, depending on the size of your organization, it is the full package, ask to completion. And then no matter what, thank people who have given. Maybe the thank you comes from, for our sake, it's patience. Some things come from a patient. And, Alec and Caleb on our commercials, they're kind of the children. Well, now they're getting older, but that's what people see. So we write thank yous from them, but it's all about thanking people, because that makes a huge difference.
Right.
Yeah. Which is the kid that bakes the cookies?
Oh gosh, well, it's funny enough, they both do.
They're both baking cookies.
I've
Okay.
gotten to spend time with both of their families, I know, over the years, and it's so great. Like Alec is the one, he's all sports. Caleb is this scientist, he's our little bow tie guy that we've done so much with. We have another one of our, I think it's Riley, one of the younger girls. She's doing the cookies, but it's about finding the different ways that we can appeal to all the, anyone who might have an interest in any of that. But I think that's really important, telling stories.
Great. Well, that's a great segue into our last question. We've covered a lot of ground here. Hopefully, we've convinced some people to not sit it out and to do Giving Tuesday in your own way. But what would you have listeners take away from this?
Oh man, that was going to be what I was going to say. Do Giving Tuesday in your own way. Genuinely do it. Like, just do it. And it is at any level of your effort is going to be worth it. I think it's just about being realistic with your capacity and being realistic with your time, and think about it not as a end of year, we absolutely have to, backs against the wall sort of thing, but think about it as a building block for the rest of your upcoming year. So I like to think about the fourth quarter as the first quarter of the true giving season.
I love that.
Try to position yourself that way.
Awesome. Sarah, what do you think?
I love the idea of speaking to people for Giving Tuesday, like your prospects. Like, this is where you get to do all that great storytelling. I think that's such a great opportunity because that's what builds that confidence, and that's what builds that open up your phone or checkbook or whatever, because people want to understand exactly where you're coming from. But I love the idea of having that ask to prospects or one-time giver, donors, Sadé, that came in a year ago. So it's like opening that door again for, hey, okay, this is what we have going on, and this is what your dollars can mean.
Super. Thank you, Sarah. Sadé, Sarah, where can listeners find out more about you and your organizations, and especially where should they watch for when you launch your Giving Tuesday campaign this year? Sadé?
caringacross.org. Like, join our list, click subscribe. We believe in it. Caring Across also has a Twitter page, Instagram. Like, we are on it. We're on Facebook. You Google us, you find us, please.
Awesome.
Sarah?
So anyone who would like to go check out anything from Shriners Hospitals for Children, lovetotherescue.org. That is where we do all of our fundraising activities. We share everything that's going on from the hospitals, but ultimately shrinerschildrens.org is where our patients and families can find information about care if anyone needs it. And it, again, is regardless of a family's ability to pay. So, and of course, you can always email me. I would be happy to put anyone in the right direction. And Sadé, I think I would like to connect with you. Let's do more things together. This has been such a great conversation. I mean, I definitely could talk for hours. I really like this, and I appreciate y'all bringing me on and Shriners on.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you both so much. It's, every once in a while, we get to do this show and we meet new people from across the development or advancement spectrum. And you two are just both incredible. And I know you're doing great things at your organizations. So,
and it sounds like we've created this great collaboration here between Sadé and Sarah. So I'm glad to see that's going on. Thank you so much for coming on the show today and sharing with us and for our listeners. Russ, it's always a pleasure.
It's always a pleasure. I'm coming around on Giving Tuesday, Rich. I'm coming around. After this conversation, I'm a little bit less of a downer about Giving Tuesday.
I'm glad to hear that. Good to see you again, my friend.
You too.
Also want to give a shout out to our producer, Curtis Schmidt, the one who makes us sound so wonderful.
Thank you, Curtis.
And thank you to our listeners for always joining us and sharing in all this great knowledge. We'll see you next time on the Nonprofit Fundraising Exchange.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
That concludes this episode of the Nonprofit Fundraising Exchange. Thanks to our panel for sharing their insights and expertise. If you'd like to learn more about our panel members or any of the organizations or resources featured in this episode, we will include links in the show notes. If you like this podcast, we would love your help spreading the word. First, please subscribe in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or your favorite podcast app so you always know when a new episode is released. Second, forward the episodes you like to friends and colleagues or share them on social media. Word of mouth is one of the best ways you can help us reach more nonprofit professionals like yourself. And if you use Apple Podcasts or Audible, please leave us a review. Positive reviews are how many listeners decide whether or not to try out a new podcast. We appreciate your help. For suggestions on topics, guests, or nonprofit organizations you'd like to hear on the podcast, send an email with the subject heading NPFX suggestion to contact@ipmadvancement.com. For back episodes and more resources like white papers, infographics, and blog articles, please visit the free IPM Advancement Nonprofit Resource Library at ipmadvancement.com/resources. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.